Hey there, I'm Smoking Cat, owner of Gansky Games and the creator of the visual representation of my experiences. The voice you hear is made with the AI of 11 Labs. Enough with the introduction, let's begin. I woke up in this room. I didn't know why I was here, I only knew that I was meant to be here. The TV turned on and showed me the news. Something about a disease in sprouting vegetables in northern Germany. Things like cucumbers and tomatoes were affected. I turned to the right. There I saw a man in the bed next to me, his skin hanging from hooks and chains attached to the walls and ceiling. To keep this somewhat youth-friendly, I'll spare you the visuals. He looked me directly in the eyes, and I thought, surprised, I should be scared right now, but I feel nothing. I lost interest in the man and looked through the window behind him. All I could think was, that building looks like the head of an elephant. The beast lives there. The people there already annoy me. I turned away with disdain to the left side, and when I saw the darkness there, I became curious. I want to know what's hidden there. And I stepped in. As I passed through the opening and stood on this balcony, I instantly knew I'm home. The first breath here was unlike anything I had ever known. The air was heavy, like a liquid, and renewed me. I had never felt more alive. And I remembered how I got here. When I was about 12 years old, I asked myself a question that many probably ask. Did God exist? If God exists, I can simply ask him myself. It's the simplest of all options. Either he answers or not. No matter what happens, I'll know the truth. So I prayed. God, you've definitely been listening. You know what I'm thinking. If you really exist, I want to know for sure. I'm willing to follow the way of Jesus, but on a small scale. Saving the whole world is a bit too much for me. We both know that. Thanks, I guess. Amen. The years passed by, and like most young people, I got way too caught up in myself. It didn't take long for me to completely forget that prayer. The moment of truth came when I was 19. My father, 2 of his co-workers, and I were at our house. One of them had received a bottle of wine as a gift, and we drank it. I don't even like wine, but this was one of the best drinks I ever had. That was probably my last supper. We went out to a bar just down the street. It wasn't very pleasant there, so we didn't stay long. One co-worker was in the bathroom. My dad and the other co-worker were outside. I paid for the drinks and didn't notice what was happening outside. When I stepped out, I was planning to turn left toward home, but from the right I heard something and looked. Long story short, the second co-worker was being attacked. I helped him, saved his life, and was murdered in his place. And so it happened that I woke up in the hospital, in the ICU, but not in the material world, not the land of the living, or whatever you want to call it. The circle had closed, and I knew where I was. That was the answer to my prayer, and it was more than enough. He had shown me that he truly exists, and that Jesus is the way. I wanted to move forward, but I immediately sensed, if I take even one more step, the opening behind me will close, and I will die for good, here on earth. So I asked, what can I still change if I turn back? And I turned around. If I stay in heaven, my father would become the murderer of my murderer. My family would fall apart. Many people I was meant to help would remain lost. Even my future wife, whom I hadn't met yet, would take her own life before finding Jesus and would be lost forever. I was allowed to choose, and the decision was easy. Looking back, maybe I acted too quickly. I should have used the chance to speak with God a little longer. But maybe it was for the best. Otherwise, I might have hesitated. What happened next is beyond description. Imagine this. You're in a luxury hotel, soaking in a perfect bath. The temperature is just right. Your favorite dessert is waiting. The best music is playing. You feel more relaxed and fulfilled than ever before. And then, in an instant, you find yourself in a snowstorm, in the dead of night. No time to stand up, dry off, or get dressed. Just a sudden, brutal shift. Or, in the words I used back then, what have I done? You fool. This world is God-forsaken. It's cold, dark, and empty, like a graveyard. I want to go back. I'm so cold. But by then, it was too late. And so, I cried myself to sleep. On my first night back in this forecourt of hell that people call Earth. The next day, I woke up. My grandmother was there. I wanted to get up and go for a smoke. She told me not to do anything stupid. I replied, well, now I'm going to do something stupid. But it was incredibly hard to get up. She gently pushed me back into bed, and I had no strength left. I fell asleep again shortly after. The next time I woke up, my parents and doctors were there. Lunch had arrived. I looked at the cucumbers and tomatoes and asked, but there's no disease in that, right? I heard what's going on in Germany. They stared at me in confusion and asked, how do you know about that? It turned out that the news about the outbreak had only been broadcast after I was admitted to the hospital. There was no possible way I could have known about it beforehand. I replied casually, I saw it on the TV, right there, on that wall. But I immediately noticed there was no TV there. In the ICU, there are no televisions. I looked out the window, the desert, and the building was gone. I briefly told them what I had experienced, and then it became clear to me. This is what the spiritual version of Earth looks like. A forsaken, dark, cold desert, lifeless and damned by sin. Over the next few days, I learned what had happened to my body. Apparently, someone had smashed my skull completely. The entire left side of my brain and the part that connects both sides were destroyed. 2/3 of the right side were destroyed too. I had massive brain bleeding. A first responder from the military hospital happened to be nearby and managed to get me admitted. They removed part of my skull to stop the bleeding. Since the brain's protective layers were torn, they gave me artificial one. There was a second brain bleeding later, but they managed to stop that one too. That was all the doctors could do. The prognosis was grim. If I were to survive at all, which was nearly impossible, I'd be in a permanent coma. If I ever did wake up, I'd have no memory, no social skills, and would only babble nonsense like someone with severe Tourette's. If I could even move, it would be erratic and meaningless, thrashing around with no control. Well, there's no miracle cure to make a brain grow back, is there? What did you expect? 3 days after I was murdered, I woke up and my brain was simply back. My memories, my personality, my motor skills, all of it. And now, 14 years later, I've reconstructed everything here, just as I experienced it. In the end, I want to challenge you. whoever you are, and offer you two ways to respond. 1. Do what I did. Offer God your life and choose to follow Jesus just for the favor of knowing if he exists. Or 2. Challenge God directly. Ask him to reveal himself to you. Which path you take is up to you. The reward is finally knowing the answer to the question, does he exist, once and for all? The choice is yours.